How would you like to build a web app without writing any code at all? With Softr, you can do just that. Today, I'm going to show you how to get started with Softr and begin building no-code web apps that connect seamlessly with Airtable. Hi, I'm Tom from XRay.tech, the workflow company. At XRay, we use tools like Softr to build no-code and low-code apps for our members. If you'd like to see more tutorials for great no-code software every week, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. And turn on those notifications too so you don't miss a single update. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what Softr is, and I'm going to walk you through the process of building your first Softr app connected to an Airtable database. I'll show you how to connect a data source, display and edit a list of items from that data source, create new pages, and add custom blocks to your app. I'll also cover several options for managing users in your Softr app, like creating a sign-in page and setting up user groups. Along the way, we'll cover lots of different settings for customizing the visual layout of your web app and other configuration options. Lastly, we'll take a look at the pricing plans that Softr currently offers. If you're brand new to Softr and just want to start building a no-code web app quickly, this beginner's guide will be the perfect place to start. So let's jump in. We'll start with the basics. What is Softr? Softr is a tool for building no-code or low-code web apps while using data sources from an app like Airtable. In a certain sense, Softr is loosely similar to website building apps like Webflow, Wix, or WordPress. But the key difference is that Softr natively connects with data sources like Airtable, Google Sheets, and SmartSuite, and enables users to sign in and access that data. This lets you easily build a database-connected web app without needing to code at all. A record in Airtable, or a row in Sheets, becomes a dynamic object in your Softr web app. Softr makes it simple to create portals where colleagues, clients, investors, students, or anyone you want can sign in and access that information. Then they'll be able to view the data that you've stored in Airtable and interact with it just like any other modern web or mobile app. Essentially, Softr lets you create a public front end for an Airtable backend, giving you a convenient way to view, share, and update your Airtable data. Here's the catch though. While Softr is great at connecting to your Airtable data, it has far less visual customization than a typical website builder like Webflow, Wix, or Squarespace. If your project is an informational site first and foremost, you'll likely be better off with a run-of-the-mill website builder. But if you want to build a no-code web app that supports user sign-in and is populated by dynamic data sources like Airtable, Softr is a great choice. With all that in mind, let's get started building your first Softr app. To dive into Softr, I'll show you how to set up an account and build your first web app step by step. In our example, we'll be building a job applicant tracking portal, but the basic principles of creating a Softr app and connecting to a data source will apply to any project you want to create. You can also use Softr to create a client portal where your clients can access your shared documents and assets. You could use it to create an app that compiles key metrics for an investor report. Or you could even connect your Softr app to ChatGPT for AI-generated summaries and meeting transcripts. Whatever you want to build, go to softr.io to get started. Then, sign up for a free account or sign in if you already have an account. Next, Softr will ask you some questions about how you want to use the app. Your answers will supposedly personalize your experience a bit, but these are really just for Softr's marketing team to understand who's actually using the app. You can fill in whatever you'd like here. Once you've finished the survey, you'll see an option to start a free trial of Softr's premium features. You can start a free trial if you'd like, but everything we're covering today will be accessible through the free plan, so it's not necessary for this tutorial. You can follow along even if you've already used up your free trial. Next, you'll see a screen with several templates you can use to create your first project. Templates are an easy way to get started, but they're not required to create an app in Softr. You can always select blank application if you'd like to build your app from scratch. However, we'll be starting with a template today in this tutorial. By using one of Softr's templates and copying their provided Airtable base, you can create and edit a functional app much faster than starting from scratch. Here, you'll see a gallery with several different options for templates you can use. We've got templates for an employee directory, inventory management, project management, a student portal, and a lot more. Let's check out the applicant tracking template. To preview any of these templates, you can just click on them. On the left, you'll see a text description of the template and its features. On the right, you can find screenshots of what the template actually looks like, along with a live preview. This template looks good, so I'll click Use Template to apply it to my app. Now, Softr will quickly walk us through what we need to do to complete the initial app setup. First, we need to connect a data source. Pick the app you want to use as a data source. Different templates can connect to different sources. Airtable is the most common app to use as a data source in Softr, but many templates can connect to other apps like Google Sheets and now Smart Suite as well. For this tutorial, we'll choose Airtable. Next, you'll need to grant Softr access to the workspace in Airtable where you want to store your app's database. Open up Airtable in another tab and create a new workspace to use for this project. But don't create a base just yet. Softr will provide a template base that you can copy later on. Once your workspace is all set, let's go back to Softr. Grant Softr access to the workspace and all current or future bases that will be created in that workspace. You may need to cancel and retry this step if you don't see your newly created Airtable workspace. That should refresh the list of available workspaces. Next, you can copy Softr's pre-made Airtable base to your workspace. For the template to work, Softr needs specific fields to be present in Airtable, so they give you the base with all the right pre-configured fields. If you want to use your own base instead, you'll have to start from scratch. On the right, you can see a preview of the base you'll be copying. It includes tables for applicants, positions, and interviewers. Click Copy Base to your Airtable account. Choose the workspace that you granted Softr access to, then click Add Base. The base will be added to Airtable, and it will open up a tab in your browser. As you're reviewing the copied base, just note that some features may not work if you're using a free plan in Airtable. For instance, any extensions like this README won't be accessible. But don't worry, you can find the README in the resources board for this video. Also, despite these extensions not working, the connection between Airtable and Softr will work just fine on a free plan. After taking a look at the newly copied base, you can switch back over to Softr. Softr confirms the template base has been copied to Airtable, so you can click Create Application to finish the initial setup of your Softr app. The next screen you'll see confirms the connection has been established. Click Go to App to open up the editor where you can view and manage your new Softr project. Softr offers a guided tour, but we'll skip that for now. In this editor, you can add pages to your app, add content blocks to your pages, and customize several technical settings. But we'll cover all of that later. First, let's see how the connection works between Airtable and Softr. When you connect a Softr web app to an Airtable base, you establish a two-way connection you can use to create, edit, and share data. You can use records in Airtable to populate content blocks in Softr, and you can use Softr to create and edit records in Airtable. With this applicant tracking template, Softr has already created an Airtable connection for us. If you're brand new to Softr and want to learn exactly how this connection works, I'll give you a detailed demonstration now that you can follow along with. We won't be building anything just yet, just adjusting some data to see how all the pipes are connected. If you'd like to skip ahead to creating a page and adding your own dynamic data, you can jump down to the next section of this video. You'll find chapters in the video description. First, let's click on Pages in the Softr Builder and select the Jobs page. Here, we can see several cards listing various positions open at the company. Head of Innovation, with a description in Dutch, I think. Head of Research, Chief Decision Officer, and Chief Creative Officer. Each job has a title, a description, and a location. All of these jobs and their data come from the connected Airtable base. Click on the block in the editor to open up a configuration panel. In this panel, you'll see a Source tab. This will show you the Airtable account, base, table, and view that the Softr block is pulling data from. In this case, we're looking at records from the Approved Positions view of the Positions table in the Applicant Tracking base. You can open up Airtable to confirm that the data matches up. Here, we see the same jobs that we saw in Softr, including the short description for Head of Innovation in Dutch, which I'm not going to try to pronounce. You can still freely edit data in an Airtable base that's connected to Softr. According to ChatGPT, this description means something like really do it. It says it's an idiomatic expression in Dutch, so I guess it's kind of hard to translate well. So let's change it to really do it in English. Why not? Once you've edited your connected data in Airtable, you can go back to Softr and refresh the page. Now, the old Dutch description is replaced with an English one. And you're not just limited to editing existing records either. You can also add new records to the Airtable base or delete the ones that are there, and your changes will be reflected in Softr immediately. But while it can be nice to edit your web app's data from Airtable, one of the key benefits of using Softr is that you and other authorized users can also manage data through the web app itself. This can be a convenient way to let collaborators contribute to your Airtable bases without needing direct access to Airtable. And while you could achieve similar results with an Airtable interface, a Softr portal will often create a better experience for less technical users. In the applicant tracking template, Softr has given us an easy way to add new jobs on the aptly named Add Job page. If we look at the Add Job page in the editor, we see a form for adding a new job. And we can see that the form is connected to the positions table of our Airtable base. Now, you can't fill out the form from the editor. To submit a response, you'll have to view the live page to see the most recent published version of your app. Alternatively, you can click on the Preview button to see your app with all of your unsaved changes. I'll click on Preview. If you need to sign in, just click on this link to sign in as Lucy, a profile that Softr created for anyone testing out this template. We'll add a method for signing up with your real email account later on. Now I'll fill out the form with a test response. When I click Add Jobs, it says a new role was successfully added. But when I check the Open Roles page again, I don't see the newly submitted job. If we go back to the editor, we can see why. The Open Roles list pulls data specifically from the Approved Positions view. When I submitted a job through the form, the Approved field wasn't included, so the job wasn't marked as approved. Over in Airtable, I can see my submission in the All Positions table, so we know the form worked correctly. The job just needs to be approved before it can appear in the Open Roles list. We could update the job listing in Airtable, but instead, I'm going to show you how to make a new page in this Softr template specifically for approving jobs. By creating a new page to approve jobs, you'll learn how to create and link pages, add and customize blocks, and manage data coming from an Airtable connection. Let's jump into it. To add a page to your Softr app, click on Pages in the left-hand menu. Then select Add New Page. Give your page a name. Softr will then automatically generate a URL for the page, which you can edit if you'd like. Your new page will essentially be a blank slate to start from. The only content you'll see will be the header and the footer, which are automatically added to every page on your Softr app. Both of these can be edited and styled from the homepage. To add a new content block to your page, just hover your cursor beneath the header and click on the plus sign that appears. You'll see a menu of blocks that you can add to the page, sorted into two main categories, dynamic and static. Dynamic blocks are populated with data from a source like Airtable, while static blocks will simply display text, images, and other content that you provide directly. Let's start with a static block. We'll add a hero section to the page that explains what this page is about. Let's find a block in the library here that roughly fits what we're looking for. As you're perusing the various content blocks in Softr, bear in mind that all of these elements can be customized. Most buttons, labels, and images can be rearranged, hidden, or even deleted if you wanted to. So don't worry about finding something that looks exactly like you want. Just pick any block that looks pretty close. I'll go with Hero with Call to Action. I don't really want that button, but it's no big deal. I can just remove it later. When you click on the block, Softr will add that block to your page just below the header. Click on the new Hero block to open up a configuration menu on the right. For the most part, Softr does not use a drag and drop interface. Instead, you'll usually edit each block by selecting it, then configuring it through the menus like this. First, we can set a title and subtitle for the block. I'll add a little text indicating that this page is for approving jobs. Next, you can add an optional background image to the block. I'll just skip that for now. Like most Softr blocks that include an image, you can customize the layout and arrangement of the image and replace the default picture with anything you'd like. Softr will provide a list of stock photos from Pexels, a library of their own illustrations, as well as an AI asset generator. Once you've got the image you want, you can set some alt text for SEO and accessibility. And so you know, alt text is actually really important. It helps search engines index your content, and it also helps visually impaired people navigate your site. Finally, we get to the button that I didn't really want to include here. Elements you don't want in blocks can often be hidden or deleted. In this case, I can just delete the button. Click on the trash icon to delete any element that you don't want to use in a block. You can always add it back later. Lastly, you'll see an option to embed the block. On paid plans, you can copy an embed code to embed any block into another website. Everything we've been working on so far has been in the Features tab, but there are two other tabs at the top here: Styles and Visibility. Both of these tabs are available in every block in Softr. Under Styles, you'll find some additional visual customization options. You can adjust the padding at the top and the bottom of the block, change the background color, and add borders if you'd like. Under Visibility, you can choose to make the block visible only to users who are signed in. From there, you can also choose to further restrict visibility to users who are signed in and belong to a specific user group. We'll cover user groups and user signup in more detail later on in this video. For now, this block is all set. Next, let's add a dynamic block where we can approve jobs. To update data in Airtable from Softr, you'll need to add a dynamic list block to your page and then add an edit action to that list block. Let's see what it looks like. Add a new block to your page by hovering your cursor underneath the hero block that we just added, and click on the plus sign that appears. Then, browse through the blocks available under the Dynamic tab. You can choose any of them, but I'll go with the List with Horizontal Cards block. If you don't see that option under Suggested Blocks, just scroll down for more categories. Next, under the Source tab, you'll need to specify where the data that populates this list should come from. You'll have to pick from data sources already connected to Softr, like the Airtable workspace you connected to the app when you created it. So for source, choose your Airtable workspace. Then, select the base. In this case, that will be called Applicant Tracking by Softr. Select the table you want to refer to. We want to edit the job listings in this block, so that will be Positions. Once you've chosen a table, Softr will begin auto-mapping fields from Airtable to the list. It might not get all of the fields correct, but it should give you a pretty good starting point. You can update it later to map all of the fields to the correct content. Next, choose a view to display. You can choose any view that you want. But since this page is all about approving jobs, it would make sense to limit the list to only show jobs that haven't been approved yet. We could do all of that with a filter in Softr, or we could accomplish the same thing by creating a dedicated view in Airtable. I'll switch over to Airtable and quickly make a filtered grid view that only shows records where the status of the approved field is not approved. After creating a new view in your connected Airtable base, you will need to refresh the base in Softr. You can do that by clicking on this little refresh icon next to the base's name. I can see the new view that I just created, so I'll select that now. Now that the list will only display records from the Pending Approval view, under List Settings, you can choose how many items to display in each page, and set a sort order. You can choose to sort by any field in your Airtable view even if the field isn't mapped to any content in the list. Note that all of your sorting options will be either A to Z or Z to A. If you're sorting by a numerical field, then A to Z will show low to high, and Z to A will be high to low. I'll sort the list by location, A to Z, and I'll display 15 items per page. Next, you can narrow down your list further by adding conditional filters. You can set conditions here much like you would in Airtable. However, as Softr notes, when you start creating a condition, editing mode doesn't show accurate filtered results. In other words, the items you see on the left may not reflect the items you'd see in the published app. Because of these limitations in Softr filters, you may prefer to apply all of your filters in an Airtable view, then set that view as the default for your list. That way, you'll see an accurate list of data even when you're in editing mode. However, you may not always want to clutter up your Airtable base with another view, so the choice is really up to you. Generally, we prefer dedicated views in Airtable for data like this. Filtering these items to a specific user, though, should happen in Softr directly. For now, I'll just display all of the records in my chosen Airtable view. Next up, you can choose what to do when your filters return no results. In other words, there are no jobs to display here. Then what should Softr display instead? By default, the list will show an empty state message. You can customize that message under the empty state heading here. Alternatively, you can choose to hide the block entirely if there are no results to show. I'll go with an empty state message and customize it a bit for our use case. That covers all your options in the Source tab. Under the Content tab, you'll see several options for configuring what data is displayed in your list and how it's styled. There are a lot of useful settings here, but for the moment, I'm going to jump straight to Item Fields. This is where you can choose which fields from Airtable are displayed in your list and what they look like. You'll see all of the fields that Softr automatically mapped here, and you can edit them however you'd like. For instance, the first H2 content area that acts like a title for each item is mapped to the name field. When you select any item here, you can adjust various settings. Since this H2 is a key part of the list block, we can't change its type, but we can change the field that it's mapped to. Or click on the Hide button if we don't want it in our design. I want to keep the H2, but I don't really need the image or the divider, so I'll hide both of those. Next, the design has an element for an email address, but that's not relevant to our data, so I'll delete that along with the icon and star rating elements. Our list is looking a little barren now, but we can easily fill in these cards with more pertinent information. First, I'll add a field for the description. To add a field to a Softr list, just click on Add Field. Then choose the field type. Since some of these descriptions are pretty long, I'm going to use rich text. For content, choose the field from your data source that this field should be mapped to. In this case, that will be the description field. Note that as soon as you map the field, you should see the content appear in the editor. Finally, you can give this element any label you want. I'll just call it description. That gives each job listing a little more context. To finish up, I'll just add one more field, starting salary. Softr didn't include this field in their Airtable template, so I'll have to add it there first. Then, I'll add a new field in my Softr list, choose number as the type, map the content to the starting salary field in Airtable, and give it an appropriate label. Let's open up the site preview. Our page is looking pretty good, but we don't have a way to edit the records in Airtable from Softr just yet. And note that if we click on this Add Record button, we just get a message saying that the form isn't configured. To edit items in an Airtable database from Softr, you need to add a button from the Actions tab in the Block Configuration menu and set up an action for it to perform. We can see that the Add Record button is already included here under the Top Bar Buttons section. Buttons added in the top bar section will always perform the same action. For instance, they can open up a specific URL, scroll to a point on the page, or let you add a record, which is what the default button in this block is set up for. Since we already have a way to add records on another page, we can just delete this button. To edit a specific record, you'll need to add a button in the Item Buttons section. An item button will perform an action related to the item that it's connected to. When you add an item button, you have a few options. The button could open up the details page for each record, or perform similar actions to a top bar button, like open URL or scroll to. But to edit a record, you'll have two options, edit record or one-click update. One-click update will let you update a single field of the record to a specific value by just clicking once on the button. Edit record enables users to manually edit records however they'd like for specific fields that you configure. Let's use edit record. Once you add an edit record button, you'll see all of the fields that can be edited when clicking on the button. By default, Softr will only include the fields that are mapped to your list, but you can also add other fields from your Airtable view here. Just click on Add Field, choose the field type, and map it to the corresponding Airtable field. I'll add a drop-down field for the Approved field and sync the options from Airtable. Then I'll give it a label and placeholder text. There are a few more options for customizing the text that we'll see in the list. I'll just leave them to their defaults for now. We should now be able to update the Airtable records from the Softr app, so let's try it out. Click on the Preview button to open up the app. Click on the Edit button to edit any record. I'll just pick the first one on the list. I'll change the name to Test Record, updated through Softr. Then, I'll set the status of the Approved field to Approved. To submit your changes, click on the Update button. Immediately, the record disappears from the list. That's a good sign. Our connected Airtable view only displays records that aren't approved, and I just approved this one, so it shouldn't be there anymore. Just to confirm that the update worked, I'll open up Airtable and look for my test record. And there it is, my test record updated through Softr in the Approved Positions view. Everything is working as expected. Before we move on, the last thing we need to do is add an easy way for users to find this page. If we publish the site and open it up, there's no item for the Review Jobs page in the top nav. We could enter the URL manually, but it would be much more convenient to have a nav item for it. To add pages to the top nav in Softr, open up your Softr project in the editor. Then, click on the pages and open up the home page. In Softr, you can only edit the header and footer from the home page. Select the header block, then scroll to the bottom of the links section and add a link. Give it a name. I'll call it Review Jobs. Then add an action and choose Open Page. Select the Review Jobs page we made earlier and publish your changes. Then open up your site. Now we can click on Review Jobs to open the page we just made. All of the pipes are connected, and you can now update Airtable records from Softr. If you go back into the editor, you can find several options for customizing the design and behavior of your list blocks and the page it lives on. I won't go into all of these in detail, but I do want to briefly touch on some of these settings. Back in our list block, we can add and customize a search bar and inline filters. The inline filters will let users click on an option to dynamically filter the results they see. The search bar will search for the user's keyword in whichever field you pick. You can also customize the See More button, which will display more than a single page of records. And if you want to customize the design and layout of the block, you can find the usual options under Styles to add padding, a background color, or borders. Lastly, if you want to edit the design of your whole site, just click on Theme to set typography, brand colors, and site width. Our app is starting to come together, but you may have noticed there's no way for users to sign up yet. We can sign into the Lucy account with the credentials that Softr provided us, but there's no option or button to sign up and create a new account yourself. Creating and managing users is one of the most useful features of Softr, so let's dive into creating a user sign-up feature and the appropriate page. First, we need to add a new page to our app. Let's name this page Sign Up. This will be the gateway for new users to create their accounts. On your new Sign Up page, add a dynamic block under the header. Scroll down to the User Accounts section and select the Sign Up option. Under the Features tab, you can choose which elements are present in your sign-up form and customize some design settings. For instance, you can add your own logo and background image to match your brand style. Under the Sign-up Form heading, you have a couple of important options. Form Container will just add a drop shadow and rounded corners to your form, but Sign Up with Google and Domain-based Sign-up are important functional choices. If you enable the Sign Up with Google feature, you can let your users sign up with Google OAuth for a streamlined process. However, this does require additional setup with Google Cloud, so we'll skip it for the time being. Domain-based signups is a fantastic feature for building internal apps. It allows you to restrict signups to users from a specific domain. For our example, we could limit signups to email addresses that include the xray.tech domain, ensuring that only our team members can create accounts on our app. Next, you'll see options to choose which fields you want to include in your form. Software provides default fields like full name, email, and password, but you can add any other fields you'd like here. For instance, you might want to include company name or job title. Under Button, you can customize the text for the sign up button. In the Terms and Conditions section, you can decide whether or not to display links for terms and conditions. Providing terms and conditions is crucial for GDPR compliance, so be sure to enable this if you're looking to adhere to their regulations. The Show Sign In button will add a sign in button to your form for users that already have an account. By default, this button isn't linked to any action, so you'll need to set it up. Add an action, make sure that your sign in button will open up the sign in page that already exists. Next, you can configure the form to redirect users to a specific page once they've signed up. The default is set to the home page. We'll just leave it as is. To prevent bot signups, you can enable reCAPTCHA. This feature, like Google Signup, requires additional setup with Google, so we'll skip it for now. Our signup page is all set now. You can customize the styles and visibility of your signup form just like any other block in Softr, but we'll leave those options as they are. The last thing we need to do before we can properly test our signup form is to add it to the existing sign in page. Go to Pages and select Sign In. Then click on the Sign In block. Scroll down to the Show Sign Up toggle and enable it. Then add an action to open up the sign up page. Publish your changes, then open up your app. If you're already signed in with the Lucy profile, sign out. Then click on the Sign Up button and create a new account. Once you've created your account, you'll be taken to the home page, and you should see your initials in the top right-hand corner. You should now be able to use the app just as you would before with the example credentials provided by Softr. Now that you've enabled users to sign up, you may want to explore user groups to control which content is visible to which users. Right now, our example app here is focused entirely on applicant tracking. But later, we may want to add basic task management or time off requests or other HR options. Not every page and block will be appropriate for every single user, even if they're signed in and verified as part of the company. For example, we may only want hiring managers to see the Review Jobs page and be able to approve or deny job listings. To do that, we'll create a user group. To create a user group, click on Users in the left-hand menu of the editor. You'll see a list of all your app's users here. Note that you will be able to see their names and email addresses, but passwords won't be exposed. Select the User Groups tab, then click on the Add User Group button. Give your group a name. I'll call mine Hiring Managers. Then you'll be able to choose the people that will belong to this group. You can either add users manually or add them automatically based on certain conditions. You can set these conditions based on any data that's available in the user's Airtable record connected to your Softr app. For instance, you may want to add an internal user group for every user with an email address from your company. For our Hiring Managers group, I'll just add users manually. I'll add the account I just created to the group. Once you're done adding users, click Save. Now we can set the visibility of pages or individual content blocks based on our user groups. To set the visibility of a page, open up the Pages menu and click on the three dots next to the name of the page that you want to edit. I'll choose the Review Jobs page. Then select Visibility. Under Who can see this page, you can make your page visible to all users, logged in users, or non-logged in users. I'll choose Logged in users. Under Which user groups, you can narrow the visibility down to specific user groups. I'll choose the only user group we have so far, hiring managers. Once you're done configuring the page's visibility, click on Save. Now, let's test this out. I'll publish the site and open it up. I'll click on Review Jobs. Since I'm signed in with my account that's part of the hiring managers group, I can see the page as normal. Then I'll sign out and sign in with Softr's Lucy account from earlier. When I click on Review Jobs, I just see a permission denied message, which is exactly what I would expect since Lucy is not part of the hiring managers group. With user groups, you can create content for everyone at your company with a single app. You can even create groups for public-facing content, so anyone can sign up and only see what's appropriate for them. However, you may want to consider making separate apps for internal use and public deployment. Softr itself is very secure, but if you're managing public and internal users in the same app, picking the wrong setting could expose sensitive internal data. Additionally, you'll need to be careful about adding users to multiple groups, particularly if you're adding them automatically through conditions. Ultimately, Softr gives you all the tools you need to structure your app however you'd like. It's up to you to choose how to set everything up. Before we wrap this video with a quick look at Softr's pricing, I wanted to briefly cover a few of the important options you'll find in this left-hand menu. There's a lot of features here, and we don't have time for everything today, so leave a comment down below if you're curious about any option you see. For now, I just want to highlight a few things that can help you as you're building your apps. We've mentioned it already, but I want to reiterate that theme is the best starting point for setting the overall visual style of your app. This is where you can set typography, button and highlight colors, display width, and more. Next, the Settings button includes about a dozen options for configuring your Softr app. This is where you can set a custom domain, upload a favicon, manage data sources, enter meta tags for SEO, and a whole lot more. Some options like custom code will require a paid plan, but you can try them out with a free trial if you'd like. One last option I want to highlight here is App History. Softr automatically saves snapshots of your app over time. So if something goes wrong while you're making changes and you can't figure out what happened, you can restore one of these snapshots quickly and get everything working again. This can be a lifesaver when you're encountering issues in your app, especially if you're working with custom code. So remember that it's here if you need it. You can also click on this button here to create a snapshot manually if you know you're about to be making some big changes and want a reliable version to fall back to. Finally, let's go over Softr's pricing options. You can see all of their current pricing plans right here, or go to their pricing page for more information. That link is in the resources board in the description of this video. Softr does offer a free plan, which is great for trying the app out and evaluating how well it can fit your project. However, it does have quite a few limitations and won't be suitable for building professional projects at a large scale. You're limited to 5 internal and 100 external users, 5 workspace collaborators, those are other people that can help you build, and 1 custom domain. Also, several blocks and features are not accessible in the free plan, like custom code. If you're looking to launch an app with Softr, you'll likely need to consider a paid plan. These subscriptions start at $59 a month for the basic tier and go up to $323 a month for the business tier. At every subscription level, you can get a small discount if you pay a single annual fee instead of a monthly charge. There are several specific features unlocked at each level, but in general, higher tiers add more users, more collaborators, and more custom domains to your account. If you're prototyping a product or building an internal tool, you can probably get away with the basic or pro plan. If you're building a public-facing product or a product for a client of yours, the pro plan might work out, but business will likely be a better fit. If you're planning on building an enterprise app for your organization with Softr, you'll need to contact Softr's sales team to discuss the exact features you'll need and get a custom quote. Ultimately, Softr is priced competitively with other website builders like Webflow and no-code app builders like Bubble, but Softr is much more friendly for a first-time builder. If you're okay with giving up some aesthetic customization, Softr can be an incredible tool for building a product fast. If you want to build a web app, don't let a lack of coding knowledge hold you back. With low-code tools like Softr, anyone can prototype and build a fully functional product in no time. After following the steps in this guide, try building anything you'd like in Softr. You'd be surprised at what you can do without needing to write a single line of code. If you want to see more videos diving into specific Softr topics like setting up a custom domain or connecting other data sources or even adding integrations like Hotjar or Stripe, let us know in the comments down below. If you've enjoyed this video, prove you're human, like and subscribe for more automation tips every single week. If you'd like to learn more about low-code automation and workflow design, follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook, and you can find all of our content on our website at xray.tech. You can check all those links in the resources board down below, and as always, find your focus and stay in flow. Trying to future-proof yourself? Start designing the way your team works with no-code tools, automation, and AI. In XRay's Workflow Designer course, we'll show you how to break down every part of a process to find the best opportunities for automation, and how to integrate those automations into your team's daily work. You'll learn how to create time for your entire team, get more reliable results, and give everyone a newfound clarity and confidence in their work. Just go to this URL to learn more. The entire package includes over 2 hours of premium video content, challenging example projects, and tons of helpful resources. The course costs just $250 and gives you lifetime access to a Slack community of workflow designers building systems in dozens of different industries. Space is limited, so join the free waiting list today to get notified as soon as the course is live later this year. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you soon in our Workflow Designer course.